about the knee replacements.
Okay, that's what it takes.
That's all it takes. I'm surprised.
We are live on YouTube. UGTV will be starting in 1 moment.
Okay,
Just a
before I
minute,
call the
Mayor,
meeting
please.
in order, I want to announce that due to COVID-19, some commissioners, staff, and public are attending remotely or on-site. All participants joining by phone should mute their phones when not speaking to avoid background noise. During the meeting, please make sure that you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak so the public that is observing knows who is speaking. This is critical given the number of remote participants and is current guidance from the Kansas Attorney General. Due to COVID-19 requirements, the public is allowed to participate by Zoom or submit comments by email prior to the meeting, and those comments will be included in the record of the meeting. The public also will have an opportunity to provide brief comments from the lobby of the municipal office building. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Markley.
Here.
Stites.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Bynum.
Here.
Burrough.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
McKiernan.
Here.
Ramirez.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Garner.
Here. This evening, the invocation is being given by Commissioner Harold Johnson of the Faithful Independent Church of God in Christ, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. O Lord our God, we greet you this evening, and we invoke your presence, your wisdom, and your direction. By your Spirit, God, help us to hear your voice and to know your directives. Grant that our mayor and this commission have ears to listen to the citizens we serve and the wisdom to act in the name of justice for all Wyandotte Countyans. Bless us this evening with all of your graces and allow all that we do be for your glory. Finally, I pray that you would smile upon our beloved Chiefs who play tonight at 7:20 p.m. These things I pray in the name of Christ our Lord. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Thank you, Pastor. I'd like to thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for providing the invocation this evening. Next, I'll ask the clerk if there's any revisions to tonight's agenda.
Yes, Mayor, we do have 2 changes under the mayor's agenda. For item number 2, it is requested that Commissioner Ramirez be appointed as the voting delegate and Bridget Cobbins as alternate for the Kansas Association of Counties special election. We have added a new item, which is item number 3, to extend the mask mandate only through today, which is December 16th. Under the standing committee agenda, we have a revised proposed policy to the Human Resources Guide on paid childbirth and parental leave. That completes the changes to our regular meeting for this evening.
Thank you. Item number 1, our first order of business is the mayor's agenda. So item 1 is the appointment of Oliver Singleton to the Housing Authority. Do any members of the commission have any questions or comments? Commissioner McKiernan?
Yes.
McKiernan, District 2, move to approve as submitted.
Markley, second.
Seeing that there's a motion and a second, I believe that motion carries.
Roll
I'm sorry,
call.
we need a roll call.
Markley.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Motion carries 10-0.
Okay, item number 2 is the appointment of Commissioner Ramirez as the voting delegate and Bridget Cobbins as alternate for the Kansas Association of County special election. Do any members of the commission have any questions or comments? Seeing as there's been a motion and a second, roll call.
Roll call, Markley,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
McKiernan,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kane. Motion carries 10-0.
Okay, item number 3, per the blue sheet, item number 3 was added, which is a resolution amending local health order 85 of 21 to extend the mask mandate only through December 16th, 2021 regarding the coronavirus epidemic in Wyandotte County. I'll ask Administrator Doug Bach to make some opening remarks.
Thank you, Mayor. This item comes before us tonight as we've been requested. Mayor decided to put this on the agenda. Our current mask mate runs through January 6th. In reviewing this, we have asked our health department to prepare an update as to where our community is regarding COVID and activities as such. And to that point, I will recognize Julianne Van Loo, our Director of Health Department, to begin presentation. Julianne?
Thank you, Doug. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for having us back again. This evening, I have with me our Health Officer, Dr. Alan Greiner, and our Deputy Health Officer, Dr. Aaron Corvo. We came before you 4 weeks ago from tonight on the same topic. On that night, we were averaging about 30 cases per day. Unfortunately, as of today, we are now averaging 85. We are seeing a dramatic rise in cases, not just in Wyandotte County, but across the metro. We are concerned. We are once again ramping up testing, vaccinations, and contact tracing. We are currently 300 cases behind on contact tracing because cases are rising so quickly. As I mentioned, Wyandotte County is not alone. The CDC has deemed us as high uncontrolled spread, as it has the many, many counties that surround us. We are experiencing a surge throughout the Midwest as the rest of the United States is. As a reminder, part of the reason why we're seeing these numbers continues to be our low vaccination rate. We have residents with at least one dose at only 56%, and folks who have completed a vaccine series at less than 50%. Only 47% of our folks have a complete vaccine series, which of course leaves many in our community vulnerable to catching COVID. To give us a summary of the situation with the hospitals here in Wyandotte County and the Metro, I'm going to hand it over to Deputy Health Officer Dr. Aaron Corvo.
Thank you, Julianne. Good evening, everyone. Just to give an overview of our hospital situation, what you're looking at here is a graph provided by our Mid-America Regional Council dashboard, which is very helpful to look at our hospitalization data here in Wyandotte County and in the surrounding metro area. As you can see here for Wyandotte County specifically, looking towards the right of the graph here, you can see that we have a trend line that is really trending very quickly up. You can also see that previously back just before October, when we really spiked, we didn't go back down as low as we would hope after that surge. And so again, this is extremely concerning. We're seeing also hospitalizations across the metro area with an even steeper rise. As I'll remind all of you, the news today came out that we do have the Omicron variant here in Kansas. The CDC believes that at this point in time, about 3% of our cases in the area are likely to be that variant. And otherwise, we're seeing Delta variant still really surging in our community, as Julianne alluded to, likely because of our low vaccination rates. I had an occasion to speak with Dr. Stephen Stites today, who is the Chief Medical Officer of KU Hospital, where I practice and where Dr. Greiner practices as well. He encouraged all of you to chime in or tune in, excuse me, to the meeting tomorrow morning, which will be held at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is a review of hospital data in the area and some news from our chief medical officers in the metro. But he also, because we're talking about this tonight, wanted me to give a message to you all. So he made a statement that I would like to read to you now. Again, this is from Dr. Stephen Stites, the chief medical officer for KU Hospital. And I quote, he says, "As chief medical officer, I can advise you on the state of our hospital. Our hospital is nearing capacity and we are concerned. We are treating all sorts of patients and our volume of COVID-19 positive inpatients continues to climb and to climb rapidly throughout our community at a rate faster than we have seen during this pandemic previously. We are concerned because without masks to help mitigate the spread of COVID, coupled with the low rate of vaccination in our community and the oncoming rise of Omicron, we are at risk of our facility becoming overwhelmed with demand for healthcare services. I imagine other hospitals in Kansas City share this concern. When we reach our capacity, that limits our ability to admit and treat new patients who present to us, even those with time-critical diagnoses like strokes and like heart attacks. There are already reports of surgical cases being canceled in our region because there are not enough resources to take care of post-surgical patients, in addition to the patients already in hospital beds. Public health measures such as masking and vaccination can help keep our hospitals in a position to take care of all patients, COVID and non-COVID alike. Seeing increased rates of new cases, decreased masking, low vaccination rates, and lower booster rates in many communities, and some of the highest hospital census numbers we've ever seen in many hospitals across our community. We are entering a season of gathering. All of these factors mean our community is at risk if we don't each individually do what we can to keep ourselves, our families, and one another safe. We are at a very critical point, and wearing masks and getting vaccinated and boosted can help us avert a public health crisis. You know, I was really affected by that, and I think to myself, is this really the time to stop wearing masks? And I think that answer is absolutely not. We know that Omicron spreads twice as quickly as any variant we've seen thus far in this pandemic, which is of great concern. We also know that even people who are deemed fully vaccinated have 2 vaccines. The Omicron can affect them, and so being boosted is absolutely necessary. But we do have one thing in our arsenal that can keep everyone safe, can keep us safe, can keep your neighbors safe, and that is wearing masks in public, a small ask if you ask me. I'm going to turn this over now to Dr. Ellen Greiner, who will finish up our presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Corvo, and thanks, Mayor, thanks, commissioners, for letting us speak tonight. You know, we've got, Dr. Corvo's laid it out nicely. We've got a few considerations, and we know things are going to get worse. You know, things are on the upsurge already. We've got holidays happening. It's going to get colder. People are going to be inside. We are already seeing a surge. We don't have the ability to vaccinate children under 5. I had a patient that's a 9-month-old who just came back positive today and is now keeping her parents out of work. These variants keep coming, which is a concern. We only, you know, less than 50% of our population has been fully immunized. And right now we're worried that unless you're boosted, you're not protected against Omicron. So it's even more significant than not having that 50%, you know, fully vaccinated. We know that people who have been infected previously, their immunity wanes. So every week that goes by, we have more vulnerable people in our community that may think they're protected because they had COVID last year or 9 months ago, but they're not. They're the ones that are getting infected now, and the hospitals are in trouble. Next slide. So, this is where we stand. It's our job as a public health department. It's our job as physicians, Dr. Corvo and I, to talk about what makes sense. And I know that we live in a world where people make a lot of arguments and people parse things in different ways and come at them with their different conflicts of interest. But if you smoke, it's our job to tell you smoking is bad for you. If you run red lights and run stop signs, it's our job to tell you that's not good for you. If you drive 95 miles an hour down the highway, it's our job to tell you that's not smart. If you're in the meeting right now and you're not wearing a mask, it's our job to tell you not only is that not smart, that's like running a red light, because the commission actually put the ordinance. We didn't put the ordinance in place like we used to be able to, but we were told we were unelected officials, and so we don't do that anymore. So if the rule of law applies, it applies based on what the commission does. So we think it makes sense, just like it wouldn't make sense right now to let every bar and restaurant in Wyandotte County start allowing indoor smoking again like 20 years ago. It doesn't make sense to get rid of this mask mandate right now. But of course, that's up to you. This county has led the COVID fight with science. We've led the metro region. We have nurses working for the health department right now who have someday I hope some of you can meet some of these nurses that are working for the health department right now. They came to Wyandotte County to fight with us because they saw the cutting edge progressive stuff we were doing with our mass vaccination sites, with our drive-through clinics, with our church parking lot activities. I think it's pretty amazing that we have this little tiny county has been the one to really show the rest of the metropolitan region how to do this properly. And so if you're new to this fight and you don't want to be a leader for the metro, that's fine. But, I think some of us are proud of what's happened. And I think we've saved a lot of lives. And I hope we can keep doing that, not just with COVID, but with whatever the next health issue is, because we are the least healthy county most of the time in the state of Kansas. But right now we're ranked 19th in county rankings for the state of Kansas. We're way better in terms of what we've done with way less resources than what typically happens. So that's all I'll say. That's probably too much. Our recommendation is to keep this going, and I know there's going to be comments, so I'll cede back to Julianne, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Doc. I'll actually throw it back to you, Mr. Mayor, to lead the conversation moving forward.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open the matter for public comment and ask the clerk if she's received any notification from the public who wish to express their comments in favor of removing the mask mandate.
We did receive one comment in favor, and it comes from Callie Sumi from Kansas City, Kansas. She writes, please end the mask mandate. As a medical professional, the masks are not stopping the spread of an aerosol respiratory virus. At best, the masks stop egregious droplet particles like spitting, but the efficacy on this is still quite low. When these masks have done little to nothing to mitigate the spread of an airborne virus, wearing a mask becomes a personal choice at best, not a mandate for all. Please end the mandate tonight. This is how we get back to normal. Thank you for considering my comment. And that is the only comment we did receive for lifting the mask mandate.
Thank you, clerk. Is there anyone present who would like to speak in favor of removing the mask mandate? If so, please raise your hand to be recognized. Once you have been acknowledged, we ask that you provide your name and city of residency for the record. You will be given up to 2 minutes to state your comments.
So far, Mr. Mayor, I'm not seeing any hands raised on Zoom. That's for the lobby. We'll do that next. We're doing Zoom first.
Thank you. Is there anyone in attendance in the lobby who would like to speak in favor of removing the mask mandate? If so, staff will call your name to come to the podium. Once you have been acknowledged, we ask that you provide your name and city of residency for the record. You will be given up to 2 minutes to state your comments.
Good evening. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
We can hear you. Proceed.
All right. Good evening. My name is David Haley. I'm registered through Post Office Box 171110 here in Kansas City, Kansas 66117. And I'm removing my mask now momentarily only to urge this commission, Mayor Garner and commissioners. Certainly, this is a timely issue for many people, not only here in the unified government, but throughout the state of Kansas. I work on behalf of many of our citizens in Topeka and serving there even today. I noted sadly how there are too many in our state house who are not wearing masks. The protocols that have been established for the coronavirus now a year and a half, in which many people are wearying of, seem to bear out what Dr. Greiner and the other physician just said, that the more we vaccinate, the more we ventilate or have a space, a breathing space, independent of the particles that are traveling first from the original variant, the coronavirus 19, and then going to the Delta and now the Omicron, and maybe even another variant, are spreading. And having a filter would be, in lieu of not having ventilation, the best possible augmentation to vaccination and not having ventilation. I urge our progressive commission, our mayor and our commissioners to continue to lead the charge, as Dr. Greiner and the presentation have said, in helping Wyandotte County to be at the forefront within the state of showing how we should protect ourselves and our citizenry. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carolyn Wyatt, and I live at 359 Troop. And I think that the mask needs to stay on. I think that we have too many people who have already died from this. And I think that we got young people, we got all the kids in schools, we got the holidays coming up. And I think the mask is necessary for the safety of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, and the family. So I'm hoping that the commissioners take a look at this and know that we need to keep the masks on a little longer and see the outcome. Thank you.
There's no one else in the lobby that wishes to speak.
Mr. Mayor, we do have 2 that have raised their hands in Zoom. I will allow them to talk. The first is M. Hart. You have 2 minutes. You may start.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You can proceed.
My name is Margaret Hart. I live at 7065 Gibbs Road, Kansas City, Kansas. Lifelong Kansas City, Kansas resident. I want to thank the health department for everything they have done. They have done a fabulous job. I am very much in favor of keeping the mask mandate. As Dr. Greiner said, that is a very small ask, or what the other doctor said is a very small ask to wear a mask. I would hope that that we will keep that up as long as we need to. It is it's incumbent upon us. If we're the ones who lead the Kansas City area, fine. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on, and I would very much ask the UG Board of Commissioners to vote in favor of keeping the mask mandate and extending it if we need to. Thank you very much.
Our second person is productivity coach. You have 2 minutes.
My name is Martin. I'm at 12532 Prestwick Drive. Kansas City, Kansas 66109. I am not in community or businesses, and if a mask, they are welcome to wear a mask. But the ones
You're breaking up, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
You're breaking up. Can you start over, please?
From the very beginning.
You can continue.
Okay. We are taking our businesses elsewhere because we don't want to have to go into the businesses with a mask. It's hard to breathe, and we're tired of it. If you want to wear it, you can. If you
You still there, ma'am?
mask when I go shopping elsewhere.
You have 1 minute, ma'am.
And wear a mask. So I'm just taking my business elsewhere. And I know other businesses are facing the same thing, not getting people in their businesses. So I ask you to please rescind the mask mandate and let people that want to wear it, and the people who don't, not to wear it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we have one more hand up, and that's Maine Sona. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, my name is Mong Sona, and I am Wyandotte resident for more than 20 years now. Live at 9001 Barnett Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas, zip code 66112. I am a member of the Health Equity Task Force, and I've been following vaccination and mask wearing for over 1 year now. And I'm in favor of wearing masks, mandating masks as long as we can. I feel like we have experts in different fields, and this is the field for health department or doctors and nurses field. And I feel like we should not overstep our boundaries and listen to them. And so I'm in favor of wearing masks, extending mask mandate in Wyandotte County.
Those are all that are online that have requested to speak.
Thank you. It seems like there was confusion on those in favor as far as the order and those that were opposed. But is there anyone else that has any comments? Present. Okay. I'd like to thank the public for all the comments. I will ask if any commissioners have questions for staff or comments.
Chuck Stites, District 7. I make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Mike Kane, second.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As always, Julianne, Dr. Greiner, Dr. Corvo, thank you for all that you have done and continue to do, as well the health department workers. Thank you for everything you have done and continue to do, and just our healthcare workers in general. Thank you. To say I'm conflicted is a complete understatement. But I think tonight I can't vote to rescind this. I can in good faith, as when I have the number one employer, one of the number one employers in my district who has been fighting this since day one. Me voting to rescind this mask tonight, I feel like I'm turning my back on the health workers of the KU Medical Hospital. I can't vote against their mental and psychological stability. when they are doing everything they can to help to keep us safe. So I am gonna vote no on this because they're the ones who are fighting this, not us. They are the ones on the front lines. What we do as, I don't remember if Dr. Greiner, Corvo, or Julianne, it is a small ask, a small task compared to what our doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners are looking at and experiencing every single day. Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
Commissioner Davis, do we have folks from the health department that are still online? I just have some questions. Okay, cool. I can't see anything. Okay, so my first question is this. Do we have any data on the impact of our neighbors getting rid of the mask mandate and us keeping the mask mandate? I see on here we have these two graphs. It's kind of hard to see. The latest month that I see is October. We're in December. Do we have anything for perhaps November or some early data for this month comparing Wyandotte County, us who kept the mask mandate for the last 6 weeks or so, and our neighbors who did not?
Greiner or Corvo, do either of you want to take that, or else I can?
Well, I know we don't have clear data showing a comparison between different counties and how that's influenced mask mandates. The best data we actually have from this fall, though, is the data from the state of Kansas looking at school districts that have had mask requirements versus mask recommendations versus no mask requirement or recommendations. And it's really, really clear that in that environment, the masks are making a big difference on the total case numbers, on the numbers of outbreaks in classrooms. And the science is clear. I mean, you can get on, of course you can get online and find anything you want these days, but again, if you go to a doctor and try to get their opinion on whether your chest pain is a heart attack, they're gonna make that decision based on the best science they have. And the best science we have is that these masks work. They're lowering transmission. They're going to save some lives. And I realize there's controversy around it and it's become politicized, but the science is pretty clear.
I also want to mention that I believe that the hospital data bears out that it would show that, when we take our masks off, we do have a little bit of a lag time, but there is about a 3 to 4 week lag, and then hospitalizations start to kick up. And so I believe that our neighbors have certainly seen that. And I think you could ask any of the chief medical officers around in other surrounding counties who would tell you the same thing.
Thank you. Commissioner Townsend.
Commissioner Townsend, District 1. Good evening, Mayor. Welcome to your first Board of Commissioner meeting. And to Commissioner Stites and Commissioner Davis. It was barely a month ago that this body took up the same issue. And I believe it made the correct decision to institute the order that is currently in place. The significant thing that's happened since that time is the onslaught of the present variant, the Omicron virus. I believe when this commission took the same issue up a month ago, nobody had heard of the Omicron virus. So we were thankfully ahead of the curve. And clearly what's going on across the country, and we've seen in Wyandotte County from the evidence presented tonight by our health department and medical staff, show that this thing is going to increase the number of cases, not decrease. With less than 50% of our population fully vaccinated, we need to continue to take whatever steps are already in place that are proven effective to stem the impact of the coronavirus in any of its variants. Who knows what the next one will be within another month. And we are right in a period of time when people are more likely to be indoors and gathering and revert to post-COVID, just by instinct. The hug, the kiss, but heaven knows what else may be inadvertently being transmitted with that. So I would urge my fellow commissioners to maintain the mask order that is in effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Townsend. Commissioner McKiernan?
Thank you, Mayor. You'll all get to see my Gemini personality come out here. I did not vote to extend the mask mandate a few weeks ago, and I'll be honest, in light of the presented data tonight, the statement from Dr. Stites, I don't know how I'm going to vote tonight. I'm still Geminiing my way to that decision. It's not that we shouldn't extend the mask mandate. It's that I've frankly given up hope in the face of some big obstacles, and you ain't the boss of me. It was observed a moment ago, that we're entering a season of gathering. And that's very true. As I said last time, and as Commissioner Townsend just alluded to, the most common place of gathering in the holiday season is private homes, where we hope that people will pay attention to our guidelines, but where we have no jurisdiction. It seems to me, as I said last time, that the second most common place of gathering is bars and restaurants, where we allow masks to be removed when people are actively eating or drinking, which is the majority of the time spent in that facility. Having noted that we have limited jurisdiction in the most common gathering places, I think it's a certainty that Delta, Omicron, and other yet to be mutated variants will continue to plague us for months. In an interview that was published this week, former Secretary of the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, Dr. Lee Norman, said that if the pandemic were a ball game, this past summer was halftime. Now, he says, we're kind of a few minutes into the third quarter of this pandemic, and it's going to be a struggle through the remainder. Eesh. If that turns out to be the case, then we in Wyandotte County are in very serious trouble, with only about 50% of the population fully vaccinated against COVID-19, based on the data that was just presented today. If the ball game analogy is correct, then we have 18 to 24 months of fight remaining ahead of us. We may be getting tired, but the virus is not remotely tired. Having said that, until and unless we, as a unified government, have a much more robust enforcement capacity, and we're willing to use it relentlessly, then a large portion of the population will continue to completely ignore the mandate. Until and unless the 7 counties of the greater Kansas City metro area get even close to being on the same page with regard to COVID precautions like masks, then a large portion of our population will continue to completely ignore the mandate because state lines and county lines are only visible on a map. And when neighboring jurisdictions disagree about things like mask mandates, the average citizen frankly throws up his or her hands and gives up trying to figure out what the rule is in the place where they happen to be. Until and unless the unvaccinated citizens of Wyandotte County do their part and get vaccinated for the benefit of themselves and others, each new mutant variant will wreak havoc on the health of our community. Now you'll see the Gemini side. As I prepare to take this vote, I fear the very real possibility that I or a member of my family might be denied urgent or emergency care simply because the number of COVID patients has overwhelmed our local hospitals and there are literally no medical resources remaining. Thank you. Those are my thoughts, and I'm still contemplating my vote.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kane?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, the chamber had an event over at Memorial Hall the other day. There's all kinds of pictures everywhere. And not one mask. Right across the street. And then we've said this all along that, hey, you know, we're doing it because the rest of the community's doing it. Now the rest of the community's not doing it. And we're the only ones that are. I want to comment about what you said about the doctors from your district. Remember when they came here and raised the smoking age? We were on the 9th floor. I looked outside and 3 of them were smoking cigarettes. And they just said, well, we need to tell you that it's dangerous. We need to tell you that it's this. We need to tell you that. And yet they came in here and didn't convince me, but convinced everyone you had to be 21 years old to buy cigarettes. But yet these folks are sitting outside smoking cigarettes. Most of the people that are there from the doctor's office, they're not from Kansas City, Kansas. They can go home, they can do whatever they want. People are tired of being told I have to wear a mask. When you answered the question, he didn't really answer it. Well, just look at the overall situation. He either has it or he didn't, and he didn't have it. And when we look around, who is really doing it? Who's performing it? Who is wearing a mask like they're supposed to? And just like they say with the bar, you walk in the bar, you got the mask on, you sit down and take the mask off. We don't even have a program to follow up to do something about it, even if we want to. We don't have the manpower to do it. But yet we tell people we're going to wear a mask. Now, I don't know about you, but I went to Danny's today to talk to those folks out there. And he said he used to enforce it, and right now you can't. I don't see any way, since nobody else around us is doing it, why we should continue to do it. And it's frustrating because I want everyone to be healthy. But I don't know how many people were over at the chamber thing. I was not there. But that's unlike anything else. No matter where you go, people are not wearing the mask. And then we tell them, because we know more than they do in Wyandotte County, that we're going to make you wear that mask. Multiple people that I talked to said their family's not coming to Kansas City, Kansas because they have to wear a mask. The people that are out of state. We've done it long enough. They have no real documentation to say this is or isn't working. You know, and yeah, I want everyone to get the shots too. But I don't think we need to let this linger on anymore. We need to stop it now. And I'm talking about right now. I'm not talking about midnight. I'm talking about right now. As we've made people, businesses suffer long enough, and it's just the wrong, in my mind, at this stage of the game, it's the wrong thing to do. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an issue that is worth us taking time to consider. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, there will be a regional healthcare update when the chief medical officers and colleagues from around our region will be addressing this issue. It's going to be happening on Facebook, and I'm happy to share the information with anyone who would like to have that information. Having to bury persons that have died from COVID-19 because they refuse to wear a mask. It's a sobering experience, and it has an effect upon my psychology more than any of the data that we see. It's the stories of not only the individuals, but their families who are struggling to figure out how to navigate their life now that their loved one is gone. I think all of us who are around this table, minds, with maybe the exception of Commissioner McKiernan, minds are probably made up. But for me, it's very simple. I'm concerned about my family. I'm concerned about my own health. And so it makes it easier not to boot. And to boot, I've been reached. There are citizens that are in my district that have reached out to me specifically and says, I want you to continue to hold fast to the mask mandate. I can definitely appreciate my colleague's statement. I can appreciate hearing from our constituents in other areas that feel differently. But when I look at it from the perspective of personal stories of people that I know that are no longer here, and everywhere I turn, there are persons that I know or either directly or indirectly whose lives are affected by this. It makes it a very simple decision for me at this particular time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Townsend, District 1. Just a few more comments. I know that wearing a mask is inconvenient at times, and I know we may all be suffering from mask fatigue, but that is not a reason to drop the mask mandate. Illness or death would be the ultimate arbiter of whether you need one, and we don't want to see any of our citizens, friends, family members have to go that route when wearing the mask would be so much simpler. And especially when we know from the numbers that at least 50% of the people in Wyandotte County have not taken advantage of the free opportunities to become vaccinated. That's their choice, wish they would make another. And so this would be a mechanism by which if people want to gather in private homes and private facilities and take the chance of not wearing a mask, not knowing who's been vaccinated, who's not, they'd be free to do so. But this would be a mechanism that we can use publicly to curb the spread of this virus. We do have enforcement mechanisms. Maybe we need to step up on them. I understand people are tired, but now is not the time with the onslaught of a variant that, as I said before, nobody even could call its name a month ago. Now's not the time to give up. We need to keep the mask mandate in place right now. I surely hope that 2022 doesn't look like our March of 2020, and it's because people will not do the things that our medical professionals have said and it's been proven are effective to fight this virus. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner Davis, District 8. Where I'm at on this is not about the data. It's not about the science. It is not about any of those things. I'm fully vaccinated, got boosted last week. I encourage everyone, have made public statements. There is no confusion on where I stand on this issue and what I want for my district. But considering, I think, a very valid argument made by Commissioner McKiernan, we have to consider the logistics. We have to have a logistical conversation about this, not just a moral one, not just a data one or a scientific one, but a logistical conversation. We have to have a political will conversation. We have lost political will in our community. Other jurisdictions have lost political will in our community. And it's for that reason that I do not see the point of continuing this mandate, knowing all of those variables that we cannot control. I was not satisfied, to be quite honest, regarding my question on the data. The response about school districts is apples and oranges as far as a comparison, because you can control what is happening in that school, not in a way that you can control what's happening out in our city and out in our community. And so this does not mean that my opinion on this or my vote on this will not change in the future, but I'm just not in favor of keeping this. It's not a scientific one. This is not scientific for me at all, at all. This has a lot to do with logistics. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of questions and comments, and My questions really are for our legal counsel. Number one, if we didn't have a mask mandate, are local governments, such as our school districts currently, churches, nonprofits, businesses, if I chose at the Shepherd Center of Kansas City, Kansas, to say, in order to attend our program, you need to wear a mask, would that be allowable if there were no mandate in place? Would all these entities be allowed to choose masking? I don't know who is helping with the legal aspects of the situation. So that's question one. And the second question is, as I recall all along, the penalty for violating is actually quite severe. And I'm not sure that we've actually enacted that penalty against anyone. And yet we see, as has been pointed out by several commissioners, that many people are simply ignoring the mandate, knowing full well that there is actually no consequence for them. So those are a couple of legal questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Misty Brown, Chief Counsel. I'm going to recognize James Bain in our attorney, as he has worked this issue for the last 2 years.
Thank you, Misty. So to answer your first question first, private businesses, organizations are still able to make their own decisions on inside their facilities, on their own property. The second question about enforcement, we have not written any tickets for the crime of violating a health order. The thought was to educate businesses and individuals and not hammer with a criminal penalty.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I felt like that was the answer. And again, I feel like the penalty is quite severe as it's written in our law. And yet we have chosen not to enforce it. I don't know if I stated this a couple of weeks ago when we took this up, but everywhere I go, whether it's in Wyandotte County or outside of Wyandotte County, people are not masking. And I very much care about our health leaders and the data and information that they've brought us. It's disturbing that even with our mandate, our numbers are up. I personally think that's because people are not paying attention to the mandate anymore. I applaud KCK schools specifically because, again, with the authority that they have to choose masking or not, they have chosen masking and a number of other protocols. And KCK schools believes that through that, they actually have kept the virus under control within the school district. And I'm very proud of that. And I think they have taken their job very seriously, as the other school districts have as well. I just think it's very sad that tomorrow morning the health leaders are going to gather and talk to us about all of the updates, the strains on the health system, the rising numbers, et cetera, and yet no jurisdiction anywhere near us is going to alter a mask mandate. They've already turned it down, several of them this week. We have state elected leaders actively choosing to encourage no masking, which is ridiculous toward the other end of the pendulum. I've heard from people today via email that are for and against keeping the mandate. I'm thinking that it's probably shaking out about 50-50. The chamber sent out a survey this afternoon. I asked if we could have the results of that, and the answer was 60% in favor of eliminating and 40% in favor of keeping. So, we have that information from our chamber partners. I think ultimately it's sadly time to stop mandating the mask wearing. I have a mask on. I'm going to wear this mask. I'm going to do everything I can to protect my family and those that are around me. I'm going to wear this mask in Johnson County, Leavenworth County, in Riverside, Missouri, in Wyandotte County. And I'm going to hope and pray that people will get vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Chuck Stites.
Commissioner Stites, District 7. I'm not sure what the date was that we entered this Core 4 arrangement, but I remember it being, I was on the Edwardsville City Council at the time, and I remember it being sold as, we're going to enter this together and we'll get out together. That hasn't happened. Here we are, the only ones left standing, the only ones wearing a mask, the only ones that it's affecting our businesses, affecting people going to other cities to do their shopping, to eat. It was mentioned tonight that it's not the time to make the change. I'd like to know, when is that time? It's been a moving target from day one. When we heard that if we get, I don't remember the exact number, what it was, but when we get 20% of folks vaccinated, that's the number we need to get to. Now we're at 50. That's still not good enough. It's going to move. It's going to continue to move. And people are tired of it. My wife and I walked into Jose Peppers a couple nights ago. We both wore a mask when we walked in, and I counted how many steps it took until I got to my table. And it was 5. I'm short-legged. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that I can step 3 feet. 15 feet, I was able to sit down at the table. My water got there. My mask is off. We sat there for 47 minutes. We ate. And thank goodness that virus waited until my wife and I got through eating, because it didn't attack us. We walked outside and put on our mask as we walked out. It's crazy to think that we can go inside of a restaurant, walk 15 feet, take it off, and sit there for an hour in a public gathering, and we still need to wear our masks. Don't understand it. 60-40 was the survey, like Commissioner Bynum said, to eliminate the mask mandate. If we're not going to listen to the people of our community, our citizens, our constituents, they just told you. We're not going to listen to them. Don't take the surveys. Don't put them out there if we're not going to pay attention to them. Bonner Springs and Edwardsville, where I'm the commissioner, we have no mask mandate. And I'm thankful that this body decided to let Bonner and Edwardsville decide on themselves, their elected body, to decide what they want to do. And we did not have a mask mandate. And the cases have not risen. I am absolutely for people getting vaccinated, if that's what you want to do. I'm all for people wearing their mask. Continue to wear your mask. I don't want anybody to take it off. If you feel like you want to wear your mask to, like Commissioner Bynum said, to Johnson County, to Leavenworth County, to Tucumcari, do it. I applaud you for doing that. You're taking care of yourself. Let me worry about myself. I am in favor of lifting the mask mandate, not even at 11:59. I'd like to see it happen at, well, It's 750, not 8 right now. I'd like to see it lifted at 759. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners, comment, questions? I got a question for Ms. Van Loo. If you could pull up the slide about the vaccination rates in Wyandotte County and share that with the public one more time. And then if you could talk briefly about access that is provided to the public to get vaccinations. I think that's really important when you talk about vaccinations rates. What the unified government is doing to try and get people vaccinated, or at least provide the opportunity for that. And if you could speak to that, the value of vaccinations.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. We continue to provide vaccinations free of charge at our Kmart site out at 78th and State, Wednesday through Friday, currently. We don't have a ton of people coming through for first and second doses. We are serving a lot of folks with boosters right now. And a few of our pediatric folks are coming through, but not nearly as many as we would like. But that is, of course, free of charge. It is every week. In January, we will be moving that to just 1 day a week due to demand decreasing, unfortunately, and our need to reserve resources. But we will continue to provide vaccinations free of charge into 2022. Did that fully answer your question? I apologize if I missed a piece there.
Yes, and I guess from a medical perspective, the importance of getting vaccinated, how that relates to just the benefit to our community.
I'm going to throw that to one of the medical docs just so that I stay in my lane. Dr. Greiner or Dr. Corvo? Did we lose them? Either of you are speaking, you're both on mute. Oh, go ahead, Doc.
Sorry, sorry for the wait there. Yeah, I mean, I think getting vaccinated is extremely important because really what it's doing is teaching your immune system how to respond if it were to be then to come in contact with the virus. So without that, you stand the chance of your body being overwhelmed. You stand the chance of getting extremely ill, being hospitalized, and even death, as we've seen and heard a lot about tonight. Unfortunately, most of the people in the hospital right now, and I believe all of those in our county's hospitals who are on ventilators in the ICU, have not received any vaccination. So we do see that it's of great benefit. Especially with the Omicron variant and the variants to come, we feel like this is really our best chance of being able to survive, especially for those people who have other health conditions that would put them at far greater risk of getting very, very ill from this virus. We see, unfortunately, that younger and younger people have been getting the virus and have been getting very sick from COVID. Of course, our very young folks, especially in 20s and 30s, are still least likely to be vaccinated. Well, I should say our children are, given that there was a lag time in having vaccines available for them. But it's really important that we get all people and those young people as well vaccinated. The other thing that vaccines do is it decreases the time that someone is actually infectious toward others. And so, we really want to get everybody vaccinated so that there's, if they were to get the virus, that they would have less of a chance of passing that on. They would be infectious to others for less of amount of time. So we try to decrease the rate of spread in that way as well. I hope that answered your question adequately. Thanks.
Thank you. Just in light of that, I think it's really important that with that information that was just provided by our medical professionals, is that the public would just take note of that and take into consideration the value that vaccines offer to help stop the spread or mitigate the effects of COVID-19. With about 20 days left in this mandate, I think that should be taken into consideration as well by our elected body. And we do have a motion on the floor and a second.
Can you do roll call at this time, Mayor?
All right, is there a roll call?
Markley?
No.
Stites?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Bynum?
Aye.
Burrows?
Aye.
Townsend?
No.
McKiernan?
I will continue to wear this. I encourage everyone to wear it. Please get vaccinated. Aye.
Ramirez?
No.
Johnson?
No.
Kane?
Aye.
The motion carries 6-4.
Okay, that concludes the mayor's agenda and takes us to the consent agenda. Does any member of the commissioner or the county administrator wish to set aside any item on the consent agenda? If an item is not set aside, all items on the consent agenda will be voted on by one vote.
Markley, move to approve.
McKiernan, second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Markley?
Aye.
Stites?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Bynum?
Aye.
Burrows?
Aye.
Townsend?
Aye.
McKiernan?
Aye.
Ramirez?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Kane? Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you. Next item is standing committee's agenda. Item number 1 is a presentation and a resolution to implement a new human resource policy on childbirth and parental leave. Commissioners should have received and revised the revised policy yesterday, as noted in the blue sheet. This item was presented to the Administration and Human Services Standing Committee on December 6th. The committee voted unanimously to approve and forward to the full commission. It is being placed on the standing committee agenda due to some modifications. I'll ask the Commissioner Markley, who chaired the meeting, if she had anything to add to that.
Thanks, Mayor. I would just say that the committee was overwhelmingly supportive of the addition of paid childbirth and parental leave. The only reason it is on the agenda for separate vote is because we did make a modification. That modification was around a timing requirement. There's a requirement for that leave to be used within a certain time period, but the committee recognized that there could be medical circumstances that prevented either the mother or the child from being able to leave the hospital within that time limit. So the edit was to allow the administrator's office to make exceptions for medical circumstances where the leave couldn't be used within that time period. So I'll let staff talk about it, but just so you know, the committee overwhelmingly supportive and just wanted to make sure that we were providing appropriate exceptions where medically necessary for staff to use this benefit.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and County Administration. My name is Renee Ramirez, Director of Human Resources. This evening with me, I have 2 members of the Human Resources staff, Shakiva Christian, HR Manager, and Courtney Sachin, HR Partner, as well as our Senior Legal Advisor, Henry Couchman. This evening, I'm bringing forward a new policy for consideration. This new policy is paid childbirth and parental leave. This is 2 types of leave. The policy recognizes the importance of work-life balance for families and gives us the ability to remain competitive in the market for recruiting talented individuals. Equally important, it facilitates retention of employees, boosts employee morale, and supports the mental health and well-being of parents. This leave will run concurrently with FMLA leave. This would be available on or before January 1st of 2022. First, I'll speak about the paid childbirth leave. This leave is available to employees who give birth to a child or children to provide time for recovery from childbirth before returning to work. The amount of leave that's available under this portion for full-time employees is 240 hours, and for part-time A employees, it's 120 hours. This leave will be taken on a continuous basis. The paid parental leave portion of this policy is available to eligible employees to care for and to bond with their child or their children after birth. It's also available for the placement with the employee for adoption or for foster care. The amount of leave for this portion of the policy is slightly different than the childbirth leave. For full-time employees, it's 160 hours per qualifying event, and for part-time A employees, it's 80 hours per qualifying event. This leave may be taken continuously, intermittently, or on a reduced schedule. Again, this leave would run concurrently with FMLA leave. We have placed some limitations on the paid parental leave portion of this policy. It may be taken only, this leave can only be taken for one qualifying event in a 12-month period, and it must be used within 16 weeks of that qualifying event. This portion of the policy, the county administrator may extend the time to use the leave in extenuating circumstances. This leave also runs concurrently with FMLA. I wanted to share some statistics with you about our workforce today. We have 5 generations that make up our workforce today here at the unified government. We have the traditional generation born pre-1945. We have 31 employees. We have the baby boomers, which are 410 employees. Generation X, 766 employees. Generation Y, 807 employees. And Generation Z, 133 employees. Additional information regarding the makeup of the UG workforce, we have approximately 2,300 employees, but that number does fluctuate depending on the number of separations that occur and new hires that occur. However, today we have 1,409 males in our workforce and 740 females in our workforce. We average about 50 births a year on our health plan, and the estimated cost of this would be approximately $250,000 to $500,000. In preparing this policy, we did some comparisons with other organizations to see what they were doing, who were offering this same type of leave. So we checked several governmental entities, Johnson County, and you will see in this chart here, it does have a variation of the types of leave that other organizations provide. So Johnson County has, they provide 160 hours for full-time employees with no waiting period. Jackson County has 12 weeks, which is 480 hours for birth or adoption of a child. Kansas City, Missouri, 6 weeks or 240 hours for the birth or adoption of a child. However, the employee must be eligible for FMLA in order to take that leave. Lawrence is 12 weeks, 480 hours for the birth or adoption of a child or placement for foster care. Prairie Village is 8 weeks for the birth or adoption of a child. Shawnee, 6 weeks. And the state of Kansas, 8 weeks for primary caregiver and 4 weeks for the secondary caregiver. And eligible for 180 days. They're only eligible for this after 180 days of employment. So in closing, this policy shows our commitment to our workforce on how we value the work-life balance that so many of our employees face today. And I'd like to thank you for considering this for one of our policies in the Human Resources Guide. Thank you.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very happy that we're doing this. This is something that at the federal level, they've been trying for years to do for everybody. My question is on or questions, I should say, is on the comparison table. Is Johnson County, out of this table, the only entity that differentiates between full-time and part-time employees? Because it seems that the rest of these entities means that, like Jackson County, 480 hours, that looks like it means for all employees, full-time and part-time. There's no differentiation. Is Johnson County the only one?
Many of the organizations actually did have different comparisons for full-time versus part-time. Johnson County in particular does have full-time, part-time, and two different types of part-times that have benefits. So that policy would differentiate. So there's different variations within those policies.
So these other entities do as well, or no?
I didn't see that in the policies. They strictly just said this.
Okay. Mhm. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so that seems in our metro area, Johnson County is the only one that sorry, that's a hard word for me to say, differentiates between part-time and full-time. Why are we doing, what's our rationale of differentiating between 240 for part-time for paid leave and then 120 for part-time? What's our
reasoning?
Reasoning for that. Why
So the reasoning for that,
all over for everybody.
yes. So the reasoning for that, Commissioner, is because our full-time employees actually accrue higher benefits, accrual benefits than a part-time employee accrues. So a full-time employee will earn a little bit more time, like sick time, a vacation time, holiday pay, or part-time they earn half of that number that a full-time employee. So that is why the differentiation is between a full-time employee and a part-time employee.
Okay. Thank you. My second question is, and it might be to the paid parental leave. We have now different ways of looking at the types of what a family looks like. We may have a same-sex couple. Where would they fall in line in this? Would it be under the paid parental leave if they were to adopt a child?
That is correct.
Okay. I think that is all the questions I had at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrator Brock, would you like to make any comments?
No, Mayor, I believe staff has done an excellent job in working through this matter. They've vetted it through for several months and come through with, I think, a good program for our organization that we're putting forth for recommendation for approval tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions from the commission? Commissioner Stites.
Commissioner Stites, District 7. First off, I want to say thank you for bringing this to us. And at the time that we're in right now, where it's hard to get employees, and we want to make sure this is just another tool for us as an elected body to employee retention. I mean, if we can, things that we can throw out to keep our employees happy, I'm fully in favor of it, and I thank you very much. And I wish you had it when I spent my many years as a UG employee. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, Commissioner Davis, District 8, likewise, thank y'all so much for bringing this policy forward. I think it's very progressive and forward-thinking. There is one thing that I think we should consider. We are having retention and recruiting issues. I would honestly like to see us extend this opportunity to our part-time employees just for retention and recruiting purposes. If we were to do that, could you just speak to the impact of that? Let's say they did not work to accrue those hours. What would be the overall impact of still allowing part-time employees to take advantage of the 240 hours?
Well, if I'm understanding your question, part-time employees, we have two types of part-time employees. We have part-time A that actually get unified government benefits. And then we have part-time B that are not eligible for UG benefits. So part-time employees, those that fall within the part-time A are eligible for this. But again, they just accrue the leave at a smaller rate or half the portion of a full-time employee because they're working less hours. Their minimum work hours are 20 hours per week. And that could fluctuate from week to week, a maximum of 39 hours. So they don't consistently have to work a 39-hour work week like a full-time employee works 40 hours, if I understood that correctly.
Are there any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Bynum.
Mayor, I would move approval of the item.
Second. Stites. Oh,
I'm sorry, I got a motion for approval. Is there a second? A second from Commissioner Burrows. I'll entertain the roll call.
Roll call, Markley,
Aye.
Stites,
aye.
Davis, Bynum,
Aye.
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
McKiernan,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Absolutely, aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kane. Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the portion of our regular meeting, and I adjourn us in that capacity. I'll call us back to order as the Land Bank Board of Trustees. Does any member of the commission or county administrator wish to set aside any item on the Land Bank consent agenda?
McKiernan, second.
Okay, seeing nothing to be moved aside, I've got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Markley,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
McKiernan,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kane. Motion carries 10-0.
That concludes the Land Bank Board of Trustees agenda, and I join us in that capacity. I'll call us back to order as the Board of Commissioners. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I move that the commission go into executive session until 9:22 p.m. to allow the commission to discuss employment contracts, a private personnel matter related to a specific non-elected employee as permitted under the Kansas Open Meetings Act, and that the staff designated by the county administrator be present to participate in the discussion, and that we reconvene in open session at 9:22 p.m. here in the 5th floor conference room.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Markley,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
No.
McKiernan,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Johnson,
No.
Kane. Motion carries 8-2.
We're in executive session until, I believe it was 9:22.